Today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about the Xenophage, or at least that's how you would pronounce it if you went letter by letter. I'm not even going to explain it. Today, guys, we're going to be talking about the Xenophage. Now, the Xenophage is one of the most popular exotics in the game, as it's really effective in practically any of the content in Destiny 2. You're talking about Gambit, use Xenophage. You're talking about Garden of Salvation, use Xenophage. You're talking about even sometimes in Crucible, I guess you could be an asshole and use Xenophage, because this thing is absolutely insane. It's a heavy machine gun that shoots explosive rounds and has crazy range and just does a ton of damage overall. And if you don't already have it, what are you doing? It's a really easy exotic to get, and in today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to get it. This weapon is not going away into the DCV whenever Beyond Light comes out, as it is a part of the Shadowkeep expansion, so there's no rush to get it, but it's so easy that you might as well get it. So we're just going to go and talk about the quest steps in today's video. If you want to get your hands on the Xenophage, you're going to have to head on over to the Sorrow's Harbor on the moon and follow the exact same path that I take. Ah! The hell just happened? Whenever you enter this room from following this path, make sure that you light the flame on each of the 4 statues. To do this, you're gonna have to light them in the order that you see on your screen right now, which is gonna be back right, back left, and front left. Do it in this order and all of these statues will then light on fire, and then a chest will spawn and be giving you your next quest step for the Xenophage. Now, the next step is basically going to ask you to emerge from the dark, which is not very descriptive whatsoever, so let me tell you what to do. To do this, fast travel back to Sanctuary on the moon and head towards the right towards the Anchor of Light area. Once you're here, enter the building that I do, and you'll find a prompt for you to pick up an orb of light. Upon doing so, make sure that you follow the path that I take, and we're going to use this orb to light up these plates around the area, and then this quest step will be done. Ah! Starting to get sick of this shit. After this is done, you're gonna be asked to go to each of the 4 lost sectors on the moon. You're gonna have to collect fragments from every single one of them. And since we're already in the Anchor of Light, we'll go ahead and start with the lost sector that is located here. Now, for all of these lost sectors, you must go from the beginning to the end, killing the enemies and lastly slaying the boss before being able to get all of the fragments. All fragment locations will be seen on the way out through the exit of the lost sector. Now, you'll know that you found a fragment location when you see a bunch of random symbols on the wall inside the exit of the lost sector. You're gonna have to shoot these symbols in a specific order to get the fragment, and the combination for the Anchor of Light is bottom left, bottom right, top middle, top middle. After you then put this in, a chest will spawn. You will then open the chest and it will give you the fragment that you need, and you are 1/4 of the way there. You are then going to head on over to the Archer's Line lost sector and basically do the same thing. Kill all the enemies, kill the boss, make your way out, and then you will start seeing these symbols on the wall. The combination for the Archer's Line lost sector is top left, bottom left, middle, and middle right. After you put this in, you'll be given yet another fragment, same thing as last time. From this point, we'll head on over to the Hellmouth lost sector, which is going to be the top right, middle left, middle, bottom right, bottom middle, bottom middle. After you shoot them in this order, you will then be given the chest, and you will have 3 of 4 of the fragments. Lastly, we have the Sorrow's Harbor lost sector, which is going to ask you to shoot the middle left, the middle, the middle again, the middle left again, the middle top, the middle bottom, the middle again, and the middle right. After doing this, you will then have all 4 of the fragments and then move on to the last step to get the Xenophage. Now, after this, you're going to be on the last part of the exotic quest, which is going to involve you going to the Pit of Heresy dungeon on the moon. To my knowledge, you must have completed the Shadowkeep campaign and done a quest involving the Altar of Sorrow public event to unlock this dungeon. I believe it's like killing 20 of like the major enemies that can be found there, like the yellow bar enemies. So make sure that all of this is done, and then you'll find the dungeon right here on your map. Now, I did all of this solo, but I do recommend that you play with a group if you want to get this done quick and make it much easier. I only did it solo because it's really early in the morning and nobody's awake, so I was like, I don't really want to LFG, so I'll just do it by myself. But make sure that you get a group for this. It makes it so much easier whenever you do. But upon entering the dungeon, you're going to be completing the first part as normal. And for those guys that don't know how the first part is, I definitely suggest you look it up. But the too long didn't read is that it's basically going to involve killing a knight, a wizard, and a shrieker that are hidden among the towers of the Pit of Heresy dungeon whenever you first enter. So after killing all of these guys, you'll then rally in the middle of the area and then go through a hallway. Now, when in this hallway, you're going to be met with a wall of doors. Look for the door at the top left that doesn't have a symbol above it and go inside and grab the missing symbol. I know it's going to look a little bit tricky to make your way all the way up to this door, but don't worry, just jump along the sides until you get there, and then after you grab the symbol, just continue through the dungeon as normal. So you're going to go through this little middle slit right here and then go to the ogre encounter, which is going to be inside these little cavern cave little areas. Now, once you first get here, immediately cut left and run towards the plate that I do. After activating it, you're then going to be shown a path which will then lead to another orb of light pickup like we saw earlier. Once you grab this orb of light, you then head back to where you first came in from this cavern, but instead of going down the left tunnel, you're going to go down the right tunnel until you find a door which you can unlock with this orb by lighting both of the plates on the outside. Now, inside of this door, it's going to lead you to a secret boss that, when killed, is going to give you the Xenophage. Now, the mechanics of this boss are pretty simple, and do keep in mind that once you kill this boss, you do not need to complete the dungeon. You can just leave, get the hell out, and then go get your Xenophage. You don't need to complete the rest of the dungeon. Just gotta kill this guy, and you're good. Now, the mechanics for this guy are pretty simple. You're gonna be given a buff as soon as the fight starts, and there's only 4. You're either gonna get neutral, fiery, abyssal, or thunderous. Now, it may sound similar, as those 4 buffs are actually 4 of the regular elements in the game. Well, technically kinetic's not an element, but the neutral buff means that you need to use kinetic weapons on the boss. The fiery buff means you need to use fire weapons, which is solar. The abyssal buff is void weapons, and thunderous is arc weapons. Now, outright, you're not going to be given the ability to damage the boss immediately. You're gonna have to do one thing before you're able to damage, and that is grabbing the orb in the middle of the room and dunking it in a specific area based off of the buff that you have. If you have the neutral buff, grab the orb in the middle and go to the back right of the upper portion of the room to dunk the orb, and you'll be given around 20 to 30 seconds to deal damage only with kinetic damage. So make sure that you're using, like Long Shadow, a kinetic sniper, Dire Promise, just anything as long as it doesn't have an element. Now, if you have the fiery buff, go to the top right of the lower portion of the room, and once dunking the orb there, you will then be given the ability to deal damage with solar weapons. If you have abyssal, go to the top left of the upper room, and if you have thunderous, go to the back left of the lower portion of the room. I'll have everything on screen so it's not all that confusing. Just make sure that if it says that you have the neutral buff, go to that area. If you have the fiery buff, go to that area. Once you have the orb and you dunk it there, you will then be allowed to deal damage. Every single time after you deal damage and the boss doesn't die, you'll be given a random buff to then go to a specific area, dunk it, deal damage. The more people you have here, the easier it can be. I did it solo and it only took a few minutes, so I'm sure that you guys can get it out of the way pretty easily. Now, do keep in mind that you do have an unlimited amount of time to kill this boss, so definitely don't rush anything. After you have finally killed him, you'll be given the last step of the quest, well, the last step of the quest, which is basically just go to Heresy and get the Xenophage. And that's pretty much it. That's the entire quest line. The hardest part of this quest line is, of course, going to the Pit of Heresy dungeon and doing everything that we just talked about, but like I said, I did it completely solo, using nothing but a Long Shadow, video, a Summoner, which is a, you know, solar auto rifle, and a Thunderlord. My loadout was not extravagant whatsoever, and it was a pretty easy thing overall. So as long as you have friends, you can get this thing knocked out like it's nothing. But guys, that's pretty much it for the video. That is my entire guide on how to get the Xenophage, and even though this weapon isn't going away, or at least the questline isn't going away whenever Beyond Light comes out, I figured I'd make a video about it because this weapon's extremely important, as it's very powerful, and I believe that pretty much all players should get their hands on it. So guys, let me know what you guys think down in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the guide, please leave a like. If you have any questions, feel free to leave those as well, as I'm always reading my comments and I'm always down to help newer players. We stream on Twitch around 4 to 5 times a week, so make sure to head on over there as well if you want to hang out. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all next time.